Ooh, you got me just so crazy over you. We love Madonna, we love Madonna, we love Madonna, we love Madonna.
You're listening to MLVC, the Madonna podcast, your place for all things Madonna Louise Veronica Ciccone. Welcome back, everybody, to part 2 of our interview with Christopher Childers from Madonna's Girlie show tour. If you haven't yet listened to part 1, hit pause on this episode, go listen to that, and then come back and listen to this one. But for those of you who have heard last week's episode, we pick up right where we left off. Enjoy.
I'm sure you heard about our incident when we flew from Puerto Rico to Buenos Aires when the plane hit that. It's like an air pocket thing.
No, why did no one tell us this?
Yeah,
Oh my
seriously.
God. Well, you're going to hear it from me. The
Okay.
world's first fear of flyer. That's me. I've always had a fear of crashing and dying in a plane. That's just been
Wait, so set the scene. So you've just
God.
toured in Puerto Rico, and you're flying to where?
We're going from Puerto Rico to Buenos Aires, and we're going over the Andes Mountains, which is like where that soccer team. We're
Yes.
yeah.
In
There was a
Alive,
movie made
where
about that.
So
Yes.
you almost had to eat each other in order to survive.
Well, let me just tell you. So we were in a DC-8, which, my father was a pilot, so I know a ton about planes. The DC-8 was, from the 60s. It was an older plane, but it was refurbished for MGM Grand Air. But the older planes had to, they couldn't go to a high altitude until they had, burned off X amount of fuel. And this was a really long flight. So we were literally like, it was completely calm. We were without seatbelts, which we often did because we were up and running around. Like the center part of the plane, you could make into beds. The back, of course, hers was in the front, kind of the first class area. And we were all just hanging out. It was completely still. And the plane just started kind of bouncing a little bit. And then it started getting really hard. Then we dropped, I don't know how many feet. We dropped down and the plane listed to the side.
No.
This is giving me anxiety.
And it was
hearing
so
about it.
loud, you guys. Like, I can't even describe. It sounded like the wings were coming off. Like, I was like, oh my God, like the headlines, like I saw the paper, Madonna, and I saw all of it.
Pop icon Madonna.
This is crazy because the flight attendant sliced her knee open. She was in the bathroom. She flipped upside down. She's been a flight attendant, she had said, for like 40 years. She was a older lady. And this
was probably her last flight.
Yeah, seriously. She retired right after that flight.
She never experienced anything like that. Bob and Earl in the back, one of them almost put a hole in the luggage bin with his head. It was such severe turbulence. And then I just remember Carlton coming in and he goes, "Are you okay?" Because I was in that center section. And I just said no. And I started crying.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it was really horrifying. It was so severe. And then the funniest thing is when we landed, Madonna just goes, "That's bizarre." That was so bizarre. It was like, bizarre? Oh, my God.
Nice word, Madonna.
Yeah. I was like, really?
Oh.
And she did fly Qantas on the next long leg. I will say we were stuck in the plane.
She was like, and we're done with that airline.
Yeah, she took Qantas for that Australian part. But yeah, it was scary, guys. It was horrifying.
Oh,
Terrible.
God. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, past Madonna, how did working with her evolve your dancing? Obviously, you're teaching dance now. Did you learn lessons dancing with her from that experience that you've sort of carried on to other jobs?
Absolutely. I mean, without question, the sort of preparation and intention of everything that she does, that sticks with you. If you're a creative person, it has to be authentic. You have to come from the right place. And when we were doing Even Beast Within, she had showed us this really intense, dark, it was a dance company from Japan. God, what is their name? I can't think of it right now. Buto? I forget.
Oh yeah, Buto dance, yeah.
And it, she was very, visual. Like, I'm going to show you what I want you to do, or let's research this video, or let's go to boxing school, or whatever it was. And that way of working just blew my mind about her. Cause she's this legend and stuff, but she's got her, she's in the front with the director stick and everything has to be legit. So that's, I think when I work on a project, I want it to feel like that. I want the people in it to feel like they've had time to sort of, you know, analyze what we're doing, have a big discussion about it, do research or whatever. No one I met has really worked like that. And it stuck with me, you know?
Good.
And have you been able to see Madonna since you were on tour with her?
Not since, no. Well, on stage, I went and saw Sticky and Sweet. And what year was that? 2008?
Yeah, I think around
there.
Was it? Yeah, in San Diego, I think, which was great. But after she was gone, and that was kind of the last time live. I'm really upset I didn't get off my ass and go see Rebel Heart, because when I saw it come out on HBO, was it HBO?
Showtime.
I just thought that show it was, you know, the editing was so amazing, but I was like, I really wanted to see it live.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was a production. Like, that was a beast of a show. I don't even know how you tour something like that.
I don't either. That
the amount of trucks and production. So you didn't get to see Madam X?
No, not yet. I'm waiting for my friend Karen. She's a really good childhood friend. I've known her forever, and she's a dancer as well. And she's out of the country, and she said, you can't watch the new one until I'm back, because we both saw Blonde Ambition together. She's a huge fan too. So I'm waiting, but I've heard it's fantastic and very different. What did you guys think of it?
I mean, we saw it multiple times when she was in Brooklyn. I saw it twice in Philly, and yeah, it was one of those shows where I'm so happy that I got to see it a couple times from couple different vantage points, because there was so much to sort of take in, and it was great to see her in this. I mean, obviously, you know, it's great when you get to see her in close proximity to yourself, you know, and to see her in this smaller venue doing it was such a artistic show, very theatrical, very Broadway.
Yeah, that's what I think too. I mean, I think it's any dyed-in-the-wool Madonna fan is gonna love seeing her in an intimate atmosphere and get to hear her sing and get to hear her, you know, speak to the audience without the distraction of cell phones and screens. Yeah, but I mean, it was just like, when you're in that moment in Madam X, it's magical, you know.
God, amazing. Well, I can't
Tony
wait.
would cry. Tony cried.
Well, you know, sometimes I did, and sometimes I just screamed out loud, you know.
Yeah, that's, you know, that impact that she brings to people. That, you know, I've seen so many shows and tours and stuff, but there's just an element there that she has with her shows that's just otherworldly. It's like a Cirque du Soleil experience or something. She is the queen of what she does. I mean, it's just, you can't deny that. They're the best.
And funny you bring up Cirque du Soleil. That was exactly where I was going to go next. How did you get involved with Cirque du Soleil? I mean, obviously, if you were doing some pole dancing for girly shows, it was sort of in your repertoire already.
I was a shoo-in. No. So let's see. I had auditioned for them. I had my house in Vegas, and my friend Kim was a dancer in Mystere, the show in Las Vegas, the Cirque show. And she said, they need the Redbird, the principal character is leaving, and I think you should audition. And I said, great. What, you know, and at that time they were very organic. They were just like, send a video and, you know, say something weird and do a little dance or whatever. So she came over to my house, and I did some tricks around the pool and introduced myself, and I don't know, couple of weird little things, and sent the tape off to them, and I never heard from them. And I was performing. I was in the Folie Bergère at the time. I was in that show as a chorus kid when I was 18, and then this next time I was the principal doing the lead adagio, and I got the call backstage on the phone. They're like, "We want to offer you a contract." It was like 9 months after I had sent my video in. And so I got that show, and I ended up working in Cirque, and it was fantastic. It was brutal on my body. Holy cow. I kind of wanted to retire then, because I had just, you know, I had my company and I was doing shows, and I was like, God, do I really want to sign this contract? I think I was just turning 32. And I just wasn't sure. And it was brutal on the body, but I'm grateful I did, because I ended up becoming, you know, the dance coach and then kind of behind the scenes. And that was just incredible. Yeah.
Was it harder on your body than dancing for Madonna?
Yeah, only because it was 10 shows a week, like every week.
Oh, wow.
So you were just, you know,
exhausted.
exhausted, like wrecked.
You probably were able to eat whatever you wanted at that point.
That
You just burned calories.
That's for sure. That's for sure. It was, that kind of show. It's just, and they're an hour and a half. And you're just, 2 times a night, 10 times a week. It just kicks your ass. Like even the days off, I'd be like, God, I feel 65. I'd get up. All the dancers, though, we found out, like all the dancers were all getting like, everybody was ballet trained, but they're like, my hips are changing. And the stage was steel. We found out later with a tiny little piece of foam over the top. It was for the acrobats. I know. So we were all just wrecked running around like, holy, why is my back killing me?
Right. No wonder.
Exactly. But it was a great experience. Fantastic, of course. Yeah.
I want to hear about your work in the Vegas incarnation of Folie Bergère. When I was a kid, my parents took us to a lot of very age inappropriate shows. Like I did go see the Folie Bergère and the Crazy Horse and all that stuff. And it was tasteful. It was cute, but there was tits and ass everywhere. So what was it like to do Folie Bergère in Vegas? Did people get it? And was it anything like Showgirls, the movie? I've always been curious about, when they bring these Parisian shows to Vegas and what people are getting out of it,
That is such a good question. It's funny because, of course, I did Showgirls with Carrie Ann and that group were all in that too. That film was not anything like anything that ever.
It's not like anything that's ever happened in the world.
Like I was like, I think it was so funny because I was one of the only dancers that had done like a production show, a Vegas show, and most of the other dancers were, LA dancers, so they weren't, they hadn't done the Vegas thing, and I just kept walking around going, "What the hell is this? Like, what is happening with the ice and the one girl doing coke? You want to bump?" Like, I'm like, what is happening right now? No. So in real life, the cool thing about the Follies was that the Showgirls were they didn't dance. They kind of just did step touch and they were super tall. Yeah. But they all had their nose in books between shows. I mean, super boring. Most of them were going to school. A couple of them had families, things like that. They weren't, we did go out and have fun and party. I mean, that was there too, but it was kind of more about, learning discipline about how to punch in and how to be consistent and, I don't know, just being respectful to each other in a work situation. And I feel lucky for that education really young in life because it's, it's the shows are gone now, obviously the topless shows especially, but no, I thought it was really, looking back, I think at the time you just accept that, oh yeah, I work with naked girls, but it is very weird. Yeah. Now when you look back, you're like, they're just walking around with their tops off. It's just very bizarre.
Well, they've replaced the naked girls, the topless girls, with the topless men in Magic Mike Live. So now we just have naked men. As opposed to
well, no, Christopher, I wanted to ask you, since you have worked in Vegas and the scene there pretty well. Do you think there will be a resurgence of the topless showgirl review? Because this is something that started with Vegas, right, since the beginning.
Well, I hope so. I really think it is an iconic thing. I loved the Follies girls because they just, like I said, they were just elegant, tall. They walked. They had those really heavy capes on. They have to hold their arms out, which I put one on. I was like, holy shit! Like your shoulders were burning, right? And the high heels and the headdress and stuff. And I just think that art form is really beautiful, and I think it would be a bummer to not bring that back and do it the right way. There's that fine line between strippery, because I've seen a few newer shows where they bring the girls out and they look like they're doing a strip show. And the showgirl show, they should be really elegant and they don't do a lot of dance. They just look. I would love to see that happen. That's kind of the theme of the next film I'm going to do.
Oh, amazing! Yeah, no, I would love to see. I would love to see that go back to the strip, but I think in the meantime, for the next few years, we're going to have the resurgence of the showgirl as the drag queen, right? I think that's what's happening right now,
which is amazing. And I have to say, I love those girls. They, and Americans are learning about this culture, which we've all known about forever. And it's important. I think it's so good that this is, becoming norm for people, that they see this, because they're just fucking incredible. I love the drag queens. I love
Yeah,
it.
I mean, when I found out that RuPaul's Drag Race was doing a show in the big room at the Flamingo, I was like, of course they are. That's
Right.
amazing, you know?
Yeah, as they
And
should be.
my friend Gigi, who was our company manager at Le Rev at the Win, is the company manager there. So I'm going. I'm going there. I'm going to go see the show. I can't wait.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about. So we're jumping ahead. We'll come back to a couple other things, but tell us about your film that you're putting together, because you mentioned Showgirls, and what's it? What can you tell us about the film?
Well, it's funny you had said, like, do you think that the showgirl will come back? I mean, part of the main issue was the money involved. I think, a show like Jubilee was like 10 million in 1981, which was,
Wow.
oh yeah, that's a ton of money. So the
Yeah.
casinos were like bleeding money for these shows. So when I had done my short film, Carnival of Wonders, I thought, God, this is such a beautiful way to tell a story on film. I mean, people have known this for years. Like I'm new to it. So my thought is to kind of show that classic showgirl in a film, because it'll be way less expensive, and we can tell the story that we want to tell. It's sort of a glimpse into the future, but with a retro look, specifically going to the kind of the 80s, the mid 80s. And hopefully we're going to have a 80s band, a very popular 80s band, do some of the music for us.
Oh,
So,
nice.
yeah, it's interesting. I'm working with an amazing lady who's the producer, who she works for Super Bowl, and she just finished a really big event. So we're having our meeting coming up. She's coming here, and we're going to talk about it. But the idea, like I said, is to sort of reintroduce the showgirl and film it so that you can see it the way that it used to look, and give it a real authentic look, instead of having to spend millions and millions for a live on stage production.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well,
Fun.
I'm
Well,
excited to see that. You should
yeah,
get
looking
Cassandra
forward.
Peterson involved. She's a famous Vegas showgirl.
Wait, Cassandra Peterson,
Elvira.
So Jerry, this is crazy. Jerry Jackson, who's the director of the Folies Bergère Vegas, is one of they're like best friends. So she came to the opening of, I think, the 1996. They had done a revamp. And I went there and we sat in the booth, and she was hysterical because one of the other showgirls, who was retired, was drunk and falling down. And she kept going, "Oh my God, let's get out of here." She's following us. The funniest woman ever on the planet, and just such a sweetheart. That was a cool little.
I met Cassandra Peterson when she did Elvira's Haunted Hills, and my friend and I were so excited to meet her at the after show, and she was just as Cassandra Peterson, not as Elvira. And I was so annoyed because I was like, I wanted to meet Elvira.
Right.
Where's Elvira?
Right. Oh my gosh. So good.
Speaking of more film work, your work with Cirque du Soleil helped you land a gig working with Sam Raimi for the very first Spider-Man movie. And that was the Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire, yes?
That's it. That was a great job.
So tell us, what was your process for developing because you were responsible for developing Spider-Man's wall climbing and web slinging, I believe, yes?
You got it. That's it.
So
exactly.
what were they telling you to do? Like, here's what we want Spider-Man to do. And you were like, I think he needs to do this.
He's got to do it like this. Well, Sam and Ian Bryce, the producer, had approached Cirque du Soleil officially to ask them if they would help create this movement, because they had no idea how, they had storyboarded it, but they thought Cirque would be the perfect, solution to kind of come in and figure it out. So I was in that meeting. I had just moved from being in the show to the dance coach for Cirque du Soleil, and the publicist invited me to this meeting, and she said, Cirque is turning you guys down, but Chris loves Spider-Man. He's a great dancer. Maybe you can talk to him. That's really how it happened. And I ended up sort of just talking to them at the table, and they said, would you be interested in coming to LA for during the next 2 days off, which I think were, I don't know, Tuesday, Wednesday, some random day of the week, and just try some stuff on camera. So that's really how it started. And I went, and he really liked what I did. He was, of course, do the,
right.
Spidey, and I have these weird joints anyway, so I'm super weird and bendy. Yeah, and it turned into be a year and a half I worked on that, which was just amazing. Yeah, it was such a great job that literally happened at this table meeting. I couldn't believe it. It was so fun. I did have to hang, he was very specific about that first when he first touches the brick for the wall climb.
Yes.
And we worked on that forever. And he was just like, give me that hand and do it again. And I was hanging in a harness, and the bricks were down on the floor. So I was actually, hanging facing down close to the floor.
Like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible.
Exactly.
Sort of floating over the floor.
That's exactly it. And they would flip it this way. But it was hard because, you have to hold your legs apart because you're hanging, and I'm like, oh shit, I want to drop my legs. But it was amazing because he was just super specific about that. So we kind of, went step by step and did all this stuff. And then for the web slinging through the city, I was in a harness, like in the middle of this. It was like a pole thing, and I was kind of in the middle of it. And I would just do that action back and forth, shoot and recover, and shoot and recover, and shoot and recover. So when I didn't actually end up working on, when they started shooting, he brought in a stunt team. It's kind of a long story. But then when Toby's stunt, the guy that doubles for him, actually started to do it, he didn't like him. So they flew me back to coach Toby's double. So he could do this, the right way.
I was wondering if you got a chance to work with Tobey Maguire at all. I mean,
I met him very briefly through, I think his stunt guy was Mark Wagner, who strangely was in a Cirque show in Vegas before he started to do stunts. It's all that
small world.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Small world.
And it was just a really high buy, but he was just a super sweetheart. I think the Spider-Man suit got stolen. Do you guys remember that? Like in the press, right before.
I think I do, yeah.
That was like right at that moment too. And I was trying to coach this guy, and it was just this whole big weird thing. But that was a great job. I'm very, very lucky to get that one.
Well, hey, anytime you're on a Hollywood lot or in Hollywood environment, it's just fun. It feels, it's like it's this heightened reality. So
that's exactly it. I know. And, you feel so VIP. They were treating me like so amazing. Like,
Chris is here. This is amazing.
It's so amazing. Yeah, they were just like, Chris is here, and, make sure. They were very, very nice to work with.
Well, I want to dial it back a few years before that. Tell us about how Paula Abdul discovered you and what your experience has been knowing her and working with her. What does she mean to you as a dancer?
I adore that girl. She was in Lake Tahoe. I was dancing in a show at Harvey's Lake Tahoe. The shows were the Vegas-y lounge kind of shows that they had in Tahoe, same in Vegas. And I hadn't moved to LA yet. I was still, kind of in the Bay Area, and went to Tahoe. And she was up there doing a video for a group that didn't do very well. But this particular video, she was there choreographing, and she came to see the show with Aurora, who's a very close friend of mine, who is also a friend of Paula's. And she waited for me after the show. And she said, oh my God, I really... she was she couldn't believe how high my kicks could go. She was like, I've never seen a guy with that kind of kick. It's amazing. And she said, would you ever think about coming to LA? So she was a choreographer at the time for the Laker Girls. And she was just starting to work on Tracy Ullman, her very first series. Mm-hmm. And she said, I'd love to use you for a commercial. Would you consider coming out? And I said, well, I guess so. I didn't really want to move to LA. I was happy, but I knew the opportunity would be really good. And I flew in again on my day off, and I did a Michelob Light commercial for her, which was just amazing and fantastic. She was super nice. And the commercial, I made the edit, and I was in this commercial on principal salary, so I started making all this money. I'm like, God, this is
gotta
great.
love residuals.
It's insane. So, and then 2 months later, I was on a plane. I gave my notice at the show, and I moved to LA, and I started working on Tracy Ullman's show with Paula. I did 11 episodes because she loved dance, and there was tons of dancing in that show. But I always remember Paula as being super generous with her spirit and her heart, and just believing in other dancers. I think Luca actually has a similar story with Paula, if memory serves. But just her palpable excitement for, talent and helping you with your career. I mean, that's a huge thing. Mm-hmm. So to be able to go to LA with that job, working on Tracy Ullman, then of course, another commercial, and then that turns into a movie. And then, she really was responsible for getting me there. And I will always owe her a huge amount of debt for that.
Yeah. And the next thing you know, you're working with, to name a few, Michael Jackson, Gregory Hines, Whitney Houston. What were some of those experiences like for you?
Unbelievable. That girl, Whitney, that voice, and we'd been in rehearsal and I just couldn't believe I was in that room with that voice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm so analytical and weird too. I'm like, fuck, like this is amazing. And I would blow the choreography because I just was like, you know, and then between the numbers that we did, she would do full concerts with her band. And she was just, that voice was just spectacular. That was amazing. Of course, MJ was great too. It was Dangerous when he did that first Dangerous. We did it on the American Music Awards live. Incredible artist, just very intense, but amazing vision, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of like Madonna. Like we'd rehearsed, I think, probably a week, and then he came in and watched, and then he kind of went into the number. But he knew exactly what everybody was doing and was giving like tips to the choreographer to change things. And
Wow.
it was epic. It was great.
So I want to ask about your costume shop. Tell us about your costume shop, because apparently you're hoarding some costumes from Girlie show.
I am.
Yeah.
Well, you know, she gave us everything that we wore except for the Justified. Damn it, they got donated. They were donated, but we got to keep our shoes, which is still cool. Yeah, we kept all the costumes. That wasn't the reason for opening the shop, because I had my company and done so many shows over the years in different, you know, in Guam and Japan, and different one-offs and things for like McAfee computers. My sister also is she's a costumer. We had this storage of costumes that was just ridiculous. It started getting bigger. Then she's like, we need a bigger unit. You know, and this is over like the course of like, I don't know, 15, 20 years. And then she moved. She was on the West Coast where I am, and then she decided she wanted to move to Florida. That's where my brother is, and that's, you know, where she wanted to be. And she said, I just take them, do whatever you want with them. So I had this storage bin that was in my garage. It was in the downstairs of my home, and it was just ridiculous. And I thought, you know, what about opening a costume shop? So it was really just kind of that sort of idea of, you know, wanting to try something new. I will say it's an insane amount. People come in and they're like, this is insane. It's a lot. I have a ton of stuff in there. And of course the Madonna costumes that I wore are there. I regret I sold my trench coat a couple of years back. Oh, I wish I had it. I really do. I love that trench coat. I know.
How could you?
I know. Total traitor. Now I'm just like, oh, I wish I had it back.
Yeah.
But
well, you have the memories, you know. I mean, there's the video of it. Well, so also speaking of Girlie Show, I think there was we didn't cover off a very big topic about you and your involvement in Girlie Show. Was there a little romance involved?
Well, I mean, I wanted to ask, you know, did you forge any special relationships with the fellow dancers? But I guess we can throw that out the window, right?
Yeah. I almost choked. Yeah. Yeah. Christopher Ciccone and I were kind of hanging out. You can put it that way. Yeah. Yeah. We had started,
like romantic hanging out.
Yeah. We had kind of started during rehearsal. It was very casual. And of course, at the time he had another person in his life for quite a few years. So it was very casual. There was nothing very at all.
It was canoodling, in other words.
Right.
Total canoodle. Exactly.
what do the gays say these days? No strings attached. You know.
Oh, right. I love that. Yeah. So I was kind of hanging out with Chris most of the tour. I mean, the nice thing too was when, you know, Madonna would invite him somewhere, I usually got to go. So we did have like the Gautier dinner was just us four. I'm sure some of the other dancers
at the Eiffel Tower.
At the Eiffel Tower. I'm sure some of the other dancers were like, I think for real, like, God damn him. Because, you know, yeah, that was just kind of the perks of, you know, but Chris wasn't, I don't know, he was very casual about it and very nice. And it didn't feel weird. I mean, I guess it is a little weird.
Well, hey, I mean, if you're sequestered to only spend time with people in the tour and they're telling you don't wander out by yourself, I mean,
yeah,
you know, you gotta entertain, you know.
I will say this is one of my funniest memories when we got to Sony. She came and sat on my lap and she said, "Who do you like better, my brother or me?" Can't you just see her doing that? Just hands around you.
Yes.
Who do you like better? I was like,
Well,
oh my God, girl.
Of course you said her.
Of course I did.
Well,
She signed the paychecks.
I'm like, well, you're my boss, and he's really nice, and just like talking out of my ass. I don't know. It was very funny.
so for this show, Christopher was actually the director of the show, correct? I mean, how
Correct.
much? So he had complete hands on every aspect of the show, along with Madonna, or would you say that Madonna was deferring to him?
A little bit of both. I mean, for sure, you know, I do feel like she really let him kind of have his thing. And he was definitely a big part of that show. I mean, he was the director. It is her show though. So there's also that, you know, thing where it's her word at the end. This is how we're going to do it.
A little push and pull.
Exactly. But from what I could tell, their relationship was very respectful, and she deferred to him a lot, often.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the fine art references come from him, where the dance references come from her, but it's such a good fusion, right?
I thought so too. They just, you know, I mean, and we're so close together. I'm sure if there was, you know, any tension, we would have felt it. But at that particular time, they had a really beautiful simpatico sort of vibe together. And we profited from that because it was just such a great, you know, experience. I will say I was, now that I'm a creator, I think, oh my God, I'm so glad I wasn't a choreographer or a person like working for her in that realm. To be in the dancer world where you just learn and doing things was just joy, because she butted heads with a ton of people, and that's got to be such a hard thing for people that, you know.
Yeah.
But it's her show.
Yeah.
Hey, Stefan, is it time for my favorite part of the show?
I think it might be that time, Tony. So Christopher,
Get ready.
We do this with every guest on the show. It's a little segment we like to call the lightning round. It's quick, off the top of your head answers wherever you're at in your Madonna journey today. Favorite Madonna song?
Holiday.
Favorite Madonna music video?
That's a hard one. Express Yourself.
Favorite Madonna tour? And yes, it can be the one you were in.
It just is. It has to be. I was in it. It's so amazing.
It's the best.
It is.
Favorite Madonna movie?
Oh, Evita.
And favorite Madonna look? And this can be either from a photo shoot, an album, a music video, in person.
That's a tough one. She looked so beautiful in Girlie Show with that short hair. Her skin was luminous. Yeah, I hate to be that guy, but I was with her, next to her. She was absolutely drop dead gorgeous in Girlie Show. I think she looked beautiful. Blonde Ambition takes close second.
Yeah, ponytail or
abs ponytail. That's how I saw it. Has to be the ponytail.
Wow. Thank you so much, Christopher, for every answer to every question. Loved hearing your take on all these topics. So tell us where we can find you on social media.
Oh, my Insta is at 702 Christopher C. I've never changed that. I don't know why. Facebook, I'm just under my regular name. I do have a Fancy Pants costume page on both Insta and Facebook. God, I feel like I have more stuff that I'm not thinking about. Is that everything? I forget.
Your dance instruction. Do you have a website?
You think I would? I really don't. I did have a website which needs updating. I do have one for Fancy Pants Costume, which is fancypantscostume.com, which is quite cool. You can kind of see kind of a lot of stuff there. But I don't for dance, which is really lame.
Fine.
Someone else has asked me that too. They're like, get your shit together and get a website.
Get it together, lady.
Get it together, lady.
For everyone listening, just remember you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at MLVC Podcast. You can also donate to the podcast on Venmo at MLVC Podcast, as well as think about becoming a subscriber on Patreon, patreon.podbean.com/MLVC Podcast. Christopher, it's been a pleasure. This was amazing.
I feel the same. What a joy, boys. Thank you so much.
I can't wait to come visit the costume shop.
Get up here. Come visit.
Next time I get west, I'm going to try some stuff on.
Love to see you.
All right, guys. Until next time, do your thing.
See you guys.
Thank you.